So a question I often get asked is, if you're reading for yourself, which is the best deck to use? Now, almost always, I'm going to say the deck that you're most familiar with, which for me, of course, is the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. But sometimes if you are over familiar with a deck, as I am with this deck, when we read for ourselves, it's too easy to speed read. It's too easy to see the patterns we either expect to see or the patterns that we are afraid to see. So if you do have a deck you're very familiar with and you're reading for a deeply personal problem, maybe something you've sat with for a long time, sometimes your most familiar deck reinforces what you expect the problem to be. And that is the time that I would reach for a different deck. Now, I have to be honest, quite often I reach for my Buffy themed deck because I love it. But this is my latest deck. This is Mythologia Fennica. And I have to say it's beautiful. Obviously, I've got a deep interest in Norse mythology, and this is based on, Finnish and Sami wisdom. And so there's a lot of crossovers. And it's a beautiful way, choosing a deck that is rooted in something you are fascinated with is a beautiful way to learn more about your subject. And I have to say, the information in the book is beautiful. They both give information about the Finnish mythology and then the message of the card. And so if I've got a personal issue I'm trying to work through, I will often reach for a more unknown deck. And then this is the technique I would use and the spread I would use, because this spread is perhaps a little bit unusual. The first card denotes the root or the source of the problem, and the second two cards are practical advice you can do at this point to improve the root. Now, you may not be able to see because it's in quite subtle colours, but the root of the problem is the Queen of Cups. In the past, I haven't always honoured my own emotional needs because I have felt being a mother was more important than meeting my own needs. And at the moment, I feel quite exhausted and emotionally burnt out. And the reason is I'm still recalibrating. How do I meet my own needs now that my kids are older? And they don't necessarily need my emotional nurturing to the same degree. And then these two are practical advice. We have the King of Swords and we have the Six of Wands. I'm not going to start reading information from Mythologia Fennica. I will put the box just so that you can fully see it. But then when I've done my journaling and I've done the reading from my novel deck, if you like, which I did this morning with a nice cup of coffee. So I've read, I've journaled, I've looked at the cards, I've really sat with it. Then what I do is I take my more familiar deck and I repeat the spread. Because often having the balance of a novel deck and your most trusted deck can bring a really unique understanding. So obviously, this is read as I record. The focus is, why am I struggling with exhaustion? And based on this spread, it's because I'm still recalibrating not having a good emotional balance in the past, and I need to be more structured and more optimistic and creative to move forward. So looking at the same question now, but with my more familiar deck, what is the root of the problem? Well, we've got the Three of Pentacles now. And you see, together, these really tell a full story, because to cope with life over the last sort of 6-7 years, I have become a workaholic. Now, I'm still glad I made that choice, because I've got a business that I love and I've managed to provide for my 4 kids. But I'm well aware that I'm transitioning to a new balance in life. So these two together represent the root of the problem. And then these 4 are going to give practical advice I can integrate right now. So this one actually is the 6 of Wands. This is the 7 of Wands. The 7 of Wands is about being more comfortable in my own uniqueness. In the past, I definitely hid behind motherhood, and I definitely hid behind my business. And that doesn't work for me anymore, and it's leaving me feeling exhausted. So to me, the 7 of Wands is about stepping into my individuality. And the 5 of Wands, so very Wandsy. The 5 of Wands, I think, when I really sit and look at this, and I look at the difference between the 3 of Pentacles, which is very structured, very hardworking, really building a firm foundation, the 5 of Wands is about remembering that I'm building a new life now. I'm building the life where, of course, I'm still a mum. And in fact, right now, all my kids still live with me and they're still financially dependent on me. But practically, socially and emotionally, they are independent now. So the 5 of Wands is about really sitting with the fact that I am currently building something new and maybe I don't have all the answers. And what I'm going to do when I've finished this video is I'm going to sit down with my journal. I'm going to take the time to look at each of these cards, to really look at the similarities and the differences between each of the pairings, reread the books for these 3, and find the real sweet spots. What is the root of why I'm feeling exhausted right now? And what are the 2 most practical steps I can take right now to move forward? So I hope you found that helpful. It is both a spread and a way to introduce new or novel decks to help you get to the roots of whatever you need to at this point in your life. I wouldn't use this, just as a quick aside, with clients, because unless I'm reading from my own book to prove to a client that I'm not telling them what they expect to hear, I'm really telling them the wisdom of the card. I'm not in favor of reading other people's books during a professional consultancy. But this is very much something that I would use for myself to allow me to get into a more playful state of reading.